As a voice actor, is there a favourite piece of dialogue or scene from that first game that you just had real fun with?
Oh, well, there was quite a few. There's quite a few things that I loved in that game. I don't know. I loved when I first met up with Gray Fox, and I just tried to. I didn't know who he was, but I knew it was important to Snake, so I tried to put as much history into those two words as possible, and I loved the fact that he had swallowed his cigarettes in a plastic bag, just to be able to bring them, and then, barfed them back up and smoked them. I thought that was pretty cool. What else? Oh, I love the line when he's first facing off with Vulcan Raven, and he's talking about the Inuit Olympics, and I'm like, yeah, big boy like you must have been a real threat in the muck duck eating contest, and so some of that stuff really has stayed popular, and I'm happy about that.
I gotta tell you, one of my favourite scenes from that first game is the scene where Master unveils himself to be Liquid, because I think Cam Clarke, who plays Liquid, is really exceptional in that, and I know he's a great voice actor himself. Did you think that there was a chemistry between you two that made your performances so good? Because there's a really nice dynamic between Snake and Liquid, and I think that both the voices are so important to get that chemistry and to, because it is a brother relationship, but they hate each other.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's such a beautifully twisted relationship, these two people that have been created by the military, and they are brothers, but they hate each other, and just their whole lives have been played off of each other's animosity, and so that a lot of that has to do with the writing. But yeah, Cam is an exception. I'm a voice actor in that I'm fortunate enough that I got this iconic character, and I do things on occasion. Cam Clarke is a real voice actor, and we really got along well, and I thought he did an exceptional job. And something else he did which really impressed me was, and this happens to this day, whenever men come in to record with me on Metal Gear and they hear what I'm doing, they hear the voice and this gravel, they instantly do that. They instantly put on their graveliest voice because nobody wants to be out-graveled. And sometimes Chris will pull them back, sometimes she won't. But I'm always like, no, I'm not doing that because everybody in the game does that. I'm doing that because that was a sort of specific choice for the character. And I loved how Cam didn't do that. Cam's voice was strong and sort of booming and had this immense arrogance and confidence that Snake has sort of sublimated and beaten down within himself because of all the stuff that he's seen and because he's tried to remain good, whereas Liquid isn't good. He's a full-on villain, and he loves it. And I think that's where a lot of that sort of beautiful balance occurs between the two of us.
He wasn't in the fourth one, is that right?
He wasn't. Well, once he was killed, and then his... And again, there are some writing choices I don't make. Once he was killed and his arm was put onto Revolver Ocelot, and then the arm took over Ocelot's mind, they went with Ocelot's voice, which is Patrick Zimmerman, to be Liquid Ocelot, basically. And Patrick Zimmerman, I think, is also a phenomenal actor, and his voice is incredible. The activated, and these things that he says, he's got great power, and he's very chilling. So I sort of see why they did that, but a lot of people really miss Cam and want to see him come back. And I'm sorry he didn't come back, but I did sort of crush his entire body, including his voice box, with I think it was a helicopter or something. So, there's just some things you're not going to walk away from.
Let's talk about the voice actors. I mean, there's so many of them, and they're all so great in their own way. You've got the guy who plays the Colonel, Paul Ising. Is that his name?
The Colonel. Paul Iding is amazing.
Yeah, Paul Iding. Sorry, yeah.
And Paul is amazing, and he's been great. But he was sort of the first example, I think, of a guy who heard my gravelly voice and graveled down a lot, but he was so talented that it all worked out beautifully.
You know, when you were recording that, did you realize initially when you recorded with these guys, hey, you know, I really have to step my game up here, you know, because they were such exceptional voice actors.
Oh, totally, yeah. Well, and a lot of them are people, you know, that I knew who they were, and some of them, you know, sometimes you get celebrities that come in, and sometimes they're under names that you don't know that it's them, and yeah, you really have to step your game up. I mean, you know, I mean, frankly, when you're cast as a lead in something that is going to cost, you know, $20 million or more, you really want to make sure that you can carry the game and that you're gonna do a great job. But it's more a matter of when somebody is great and committed to the process, you just get swept up in it, and the scenes are better. You know, the scenes between the Colonel and I really like, because I really like Paul, and we have a rhythm together that's great, as well as Christopher Randolph, who plays Otacon. You know, we've been doing it so long, it's just a joy to see these guys. These are, you know, some of my favorite people in real life. And they come in, you know, Christopher Randolph lives in New York, so they fly him in to do Otacon. And when we get in the booth, we're just rolling, you know, we're just going, you know, there's, I don't know how much extra material there is of just he and I riffing as Snake and Otacon, because it's sort of like, you know, Abbott Costello in the gaming world, and that really gives a great life to those scenes. Whereas sometimes, and I'm not going to mention any names, but sometimes, you know, a big actor will come in and it's just a paycheck to them, and they're great, but they're remote. They're sort of removed from the thing, and you just can't reach them because they don't care. They're only there for, you know, 6 hours of the day. And I once had an actor, a fairly big character actor who I had always admired, who was in on one of the Metal Gear games, and then there was some line he didn't understand. I said, well, your character, you know, the history is he went through this and he went through this, and that's why he's saying this. And he turns to me and he goes, who cares? And I was like, well, first of all, I care, you douche. And second of all, you're getting paid, so you should care. But, you know, so that was a little disappointing, but it happens.
You do a lot of emotional scenes as well as Snake. Has there ever been a scene that, I mean, it must, you know, you have to play emotional, so is it somewhat that you have to get emotional as well in order to play that? Or, I mean, has there ever been a scene that you've done that's emotional and you've got emotional as well? Because there's so much powerful stuff in those games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, well, if you're playing an emotional scene, you should get emotional, because that just makes it, I mean, it's got to be real to you. But beyond that, there's sort of a physical impact that if you're just playing somebody who's, you know, hyperventilating with fear or sorrow or whatever, that has an impact on your body, and it will start to make you fall into that. You know, if you have to play that you're crying, Snake fortunately doesn't have to cry very often, but if you make your body do that, you will start to feel sad. You know, and that's just the nature of your the way your body works and the way your brain responds to it. But beyond that, I mean, I don't do a lot of acting anymore. I mean, Snake is really the primary character I play, and I really feel so close to that character that when he's going through, like the last game, Metal Gear 4 was really emotionally grueling for me, because I felt for him, and Meryl went off and married Johnny. I'm like, really? That's great. I get microwaved. I get to go die in Alaska, and you're going to marry the guy who's had diarrhea for the past 10 years? That's fantastic. And like scenes where Solid Snake is saying goodbye to Otacon for the last time, or the Colonel for the last time, whatever. I mean, you know, it may sound silly to say, but I really, you know, I get choked up, and it's good for the scene, but it's tough on me, and plus, whenever you do the game, you never know if you're coming back to do another one. So every time could be the last one. So yeah, there's a lot of genuine emotion there, and I really, you know,